everyone. A very good morning, evening, afternoon to all of you. I hope you guys can hear me. And I'm so excited that this is the third workshop of this particular year. And I think 16th and 17th in the row, I have almost lost the count. And it's because of you guys that we are able to do it. And you have seen so much of support and been continuously joining all our workshops. That's really great. Thanks, guys. Keep joining, and we'll keep on bringing and making more such content for specifically for our design community. Rashika. I'm one of the co-founder at ProApp, and you have seen me in almost all the workshops. And here I am again. Okay, so we have had workshops on various disciplines of design, but still it might get a little difficult to figure out what kind of designer are you. For that particular reason, we're here with this but very special workshop with Helen. Helen is the CEO and mentor of Hellem Pedroso, a global brand focused on leadership development. She's also a strategic design and organizational development consultant with more than a decade, almost 12 years in helping people and multicultural teams up to 120 people in community management, project management, and you name one and it's there. So we have Helen today. So Helen, floor is on to you. Let's start.
Thank you so much, Rashika, for introducing me and for welcoming all of us. Welcome, everybody. Hi, hello. I see you in the chat. I will be talking a lot, so let me know if I speak too fast. I tend to do that. So let me know if I need to slow down a bit. But yeah, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much, Rashika and ProApp, for hosting this and letting me share some of the things that I've learned in this long 12-year journey. And I'm super excited to be here to meet all of you, to be able to contribute in some way to your journeys. I am a very, I really love talking about design, especially to people who are in early on stages of their career, or even those who are already like figured out what they want to do, what kind of designer they are, but want to step up. So we'll be talking about all of those. But before I get into that, I just wanted to introduce myself for some of you who may not know me yet. So as Rashika said, I have been working with this for 12 years now. I am now 29 and I have been doing, all kinds of things around the world. Like I worked with governments, Forbes 500s, and pretty much any industry you can imagine. I've done some crazy and some very standard kind of projects, and my main role was always to be a project manager or a consultant. Early on in my career, I have worked with branding, with design research, with service design, with a lot of types of design that I know that most people don't usually know about. Even the, actual designers who know the field, who know the things, like these are very unusual fields and roles. So, but I have worked most of my career in consulting as a project manager. And then before I started my company, when I left my last consulting job, I was a organizational culture director. So something you should know about me is that I have three main things that I love in my career that I specialized in. First thing is strategic design, which I'll be talking a lot about. The second one is social impact and social enterprises. I have a postgrad in that and I love that field. And the last one, which is the one that my heart has been pumping more lately about, is organizational culture. So I'll be talking about all of these, and if you have any questions about these fields, I'm happy to tell you about how social design and organizational culture, all how those things come about, and fields that you can explore in those three main areas. But also I'll be talking about UX and graphic and product and all of those that you already probably know, because that's usually what the market calls just calls everything that we do. So basically, I wanted to start by sharing a bit of my story, which is kind of particular. I actually started thinking about what I wanted to do professionally when I was 10 years old, and I decided that I wanted to be a designer when I was 13. I was confused about architecture, and I actually wanted to be an artist. The first thing I ever wanted to do was go to art school. But my parents come from like a very humble householding, and they're nurses. So me being an artist was never something I could consider. So design was actually something that felt a little bit like that. Like I could use my skills towards that. And the actual conversation that made me decide towards design was very funny. Like I was telling my dad I didn't want to do architecture because it was too concrete. I was very abstract. I didn't want to do like cement stuff. That's not what I wanted to do. And he said, well, maybe there's this thing called design. And I was like, what do they do? And he said, they make chairs. And I was like, what is up with that? Like, why do they make chairs? Like, and then he said, like, they actually make everything that we have around us. And I was like, okay, that I can work with that. Everything around us, I can do that. So basically, that's how 13-year-old me decided to be a designer. And then when I was 15 and I started going to like, university fairs and professional fairs and all of that, I met my first mentor, and he started recommending a lot of books and events, workshops, academic weeks, events for me to go. And that's how I started kind of self-learning. And then I got into college, and my first year was very much around being in the design community. I'm originally from Brazil, so I traveled around Brazil, went to various different events and met a lot of people. Second year, I actually started interning for a consulting agency that worked with design research here in Brazil. Actually became Design It, which is a big design consultancy. In case anyone is interested in that field, they're based in Europe. So that's one tip in case that's interesting to you. You want to explore options. Then my third year of college, I worked at ISEC, which is an organization, that's a tricky name, so I'm gonna write it down here for you. ISEC actually is a great opportunity for people who want to develop leadership skills, and as a volunteer, it's not an actual internship paid job, but it helps you to develop a lot of skills. And that's when I had my first team and I became a manager. So that was a lovely opportunity for me to develop and find the leadership that I never thought I had in me. So if you're one of those people like I was that thinks, oh, but I'm not a leader, why would I do that? Like, why would I even put myself in that situation? Here are the reasons why I would suggest that. You may find that you love that. And one of the things that actually is the reason why I recommend it to people is that there is so much need for good leadership anywhere in the world, in any market, not just design, but in any field. So, but the thing is, if you don't try it, you're not gonna find out if you like it or not. So that's one of the things I wanna bring up, because I'm gonna talk about going from junior to senior to management. And I will talk about the different skills that it has. But if you're in early stages of your career, or even if you're like a senior and you're wondering if management is a good thing for you, and you don't want to do it as you're working because you're afraid and you don't want to put yourself out there that way. You just want to put your foot in the water and try it out. Look for volunteering opportunities to do that. You may find that you love it, and then you can actually go pro about it. So after ISEC, I did it for 6 months in my third year of college, and I got a scholarship from the Brazilian government to go to New York City. And I went to Parsons, which, if you don't know about, is a very good, like one of the best schools in the US, one of the best in the world, like top 5 in the world, top 3 in the US, I think. It's been top 1 for years. So there I had a lot of opportunities, and especially a privilege that was very particular to my situation, because I got to do a lot of grad classes, a lot of the master degree classes as I was in my undergrad. So I did kind of a quarter or half of a master curriculum during my undergrad. I took 21 credits, which is crazy. Like, people usually take 14. That's all I did. I studied all the time I was there. I was studying or working. And I did a lot of volunteering. I was an assistant researcher for a lot of my teachers. I did a lot of classes from different programs. I did I was enrolled in the design and management program. I did strategic design. I did transdisciplinary design, tech and design and technology, many different types of things, basically, which gave me a lot of ground. I explored a lot of things, and that's why I can speak to many fields in design, because I tried a little bit of everything pretty much throughout the years. And that's how I found out that I'm not the best graphic designer, not the best product designer. And actually the strategy, which is more abstract, is where I actually love and shine and am obsessed. And that was an amazing opportunity. From New York, I got to do a project in China, and that's how I started, I think, going out of the Americas. And years later, I ended up in India, but I'll get to that in a bit. That was amazing. I ended up working as an intern for ThoughtWorks too. So if you're interested in tech, that's the company I always recommend to people. They have an amazing culture. They're very collaborative. They do a lot of volunteering for like projects that engage women in technology or social impact driven projects. And they're very like ethical, and I love their culture. They're amazing. Like, they have the best culture I've ever seen in a company. They're multinational, so you can find them everywhere pretty much in the world. Super big. They just started an IPO last year. So yeah, if you're into tech, I recommend them. This company was founded by the authors of the Agile Manifesto. So if you're into Agile too, that's a great place to go. So I interned for them for the summer. It was amazing because pretty much they were hiring master degree students or undergrad students, and I was in my undergrad, and so I was the young one there. So I feel like I had one opportunity in a lifetime to be among like one of the best technologists in the world and be in an office in New York City where people are coming and going all the time. So a lot of things, learned a lot. I'm super grateful to them, love them. And after ThoughtWorks, I came back to Brazil. I graduated. I was interning for them here too. Yeah, I'm sharing them in the chat. So Kuranti, sorry if I said that wrong, asked for all the references. I'm writing them down in the chat, but if you miss any of them, please ask me so I write them down again. And I can send links later and etc. So yes, then I came back to Brazil, graduated, and I actually ended up going to São Paulo to work in a company that represented legal education in Brazil, and that's where I started working with organizational culture, because one of my main projects as an innovation analyst was to redesign the entire organizational culture of that company, which had like 150 franchises around Brazil, so it was a lot. So did that. It was amazing, learned a lot. And after that, I got called up to go to India. So the project that got me to China was actually originated in India. Like, the original authors and people that founded that project were from India. So I met them throughout the project that I went to China for. And so they invited me to go to India for a consulting gig, and I created a creative leadership workshop training, basically, for middle managers to like high executive level, C-level people. And so it was pretty funny because at this point of my life, I was like 23, and you can imagine, like, I was 23 years old in front of a room full of middle managers to like C-level people. So everyone was older than me. And I was like, pink Post-it is for this, yellow Post-it is for that. So it was very fun. I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of people. It was very interesting. And the reason why I'm saying this is because maybe some of you here are in the beginning of your career. You may be very young. You may not even be in college yet. And regardless of your age, the reason why I make sure I'm telling you how young I am and how I did all these things being even younger is because I want to encourage you to not be afraid to do anything that sounds bold to most people. You don't have to wait until you're 30 to become a manager. You can become a manager whenever you feel ready for it. It's just a matter of you saying that to yourself and putting your feet in the water and starting it out. So I did that, came back to Brazil, and started working for a consulting agency in the US. It's the one that I've worked for the most in my life. So we started out in 2015, and I left them in 2019. That's the one I grew and became a director and left. So for them, I worked for like major companies and governments and everything around the world. And that's the place where I became a manager actually. Like I feel that was the place I grew the most throughout the years, because we started out with a small team, and then when I left, I feel like we had a 300 people around 100 plus different countries consulting team, and the teams that I managed would be like per project 100 people in at least 50 to 70 different countries. So that's where I actually dealt with a lot of complexity and grew a lot, like exponentially. So that's one of the places that I feel like solidified my career. And at the same time, I was working here in a local college where I graduated from to engage high schoolers in design and communication fields. I also did a postgrad in social enterprises at the same time, and I was doing 20 pro bono consulting for NGOs at the same time. So I was doing 2 jobs, one postgrad and 20 pro bonos. So I was overworked a little. I slept like 4 hours a day for 7 years of my life. That's how I did so many things in such short time. I don't recommend, I have been a workaholic, but I definitely don't recommend the lifestyle. It takes a toll, and eventually I had to take a sabbatical for health reasons to take care of myself. So I took a year, and one of the things that I learned is I was still looking at myself as the 15-year-old who's starting in my career, even though I already have done at this point all of these things I told you, but I didn't recognize that in myself. So one of the things that I will recommend to anyone in any career always is like, acknowledge yourself. If you learn to acknowledge yourself, that's gonna catapult you faster than you can imagine to do new things, to go to the new level. And I did that for the whole year. I launched a book in Portuguese, which was a self-knowledge DIY toolkit, and it's called Criar-se. I learned a lot from that experience too. I feel like that's when the entrepreneur in me was born. Now I have a company, so that's where I feel like the seed was planted in me. So I launched that, and that's when people started asking me to mentor them. And so I was working in the consulting and mentoring people at the same time. And then I finished my postgrad, went to New York again after 5 years for something called Starting Blocks. Starting Block is a organization that I love. I super recommend. They do a 5-day training program around the US, and then you become a fellow, and then you become a part of this community of amazing people of all fields, technology, activists, biologists, like you name it, there's a lot of people there around the world. And so I went to New York and met a lot of amazing people. And then pretty much what I did was start mentoring people as a very solid piece of my daily life. I started at this point, like until last year, I didn't count from November to now, but until then I mentored more than 200 people since 2015, and as a hobby. And then pretty much I started doing it a lot. It was taking a lot of time, and that's why I left the consulting company I worked for, because I fell in love with mentoring. And now I have a company where I have mentoring programs to develop leadership. I help managers, I help designers, especially people who want to work in strategy, organizational culture, and the fields of my expertise. So I have a lot of different products. I'm not going to sell anything here, but that's how I kind of began an entrepreneur. And the reason why I'm saying this is also because I feel like in design, a lot of people think, yes, the only thing I'm going to do when I become a designer is be junior, senior, and a specialist or manager, or like, you know, and go through that. And I just want to remind everyone that It doesn't have to be like that. You can become an entrepreneur. You can become like whatever you want. You can develop your design career into whatever you want it to be. So don't get caught up in those predefined career plans that people will give you or think that you should do, because sometimes what fits for someone's needs, it's not the same of what fits for your needs. And you may change your mind. When I began my career, I wanted to be an international consultant, and I did that. And once I did that, I wanted to do other things. So it was really hard for me to assume myself as an entrepreneur, come out of the closet, I say. Like, it took me years. But because I used to think, oh, I'm never gonna be an entrepreneur. Like, that's not who I don't want to do finance and accounting and all of that. And honestly, once I saw that, it took me one of my mentors to tell me that entrepreneurship is not a role or having a company per se, is an attitude. If you want to solve problems, you're an entrepreneur. And when he said that to me, I felt like, but that's the definition of design. Like, we solve problems all the time. And so now what I see is that designers have so many skills that match entrepreneurship. Like, we are such a good fit to become entrepreneurs. And that's why I think we have so many freelancers and, in the field, because we have so many of those skills, and we already are like a little weird, sort of, because we are not the proper suit up, person in the company. I don't know about y'all, but I have never worked in a place and I've never seen any designers in any work environment proper suit up, like anything like that. We are the people who are like creative and cool. So if we have the liberty, the creative freedom to do that and create that reality for ourselves, we pretty much have the creative freedom to create whatever reality, to design whatever reality, whatever career we want for ourselves. So that's how I did that for myself. That's how I designed my career. Now I have a small team, and I don't have a 300 people team anymore. I have a 4 people team, and we work remotely. I've been working remotely since 2015 too. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. And yes, as Rakisha said in the chat, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I will, as I'm speaking, because I don't want you to miss any questions that you may have. I will answer them along if they relate to what I'm saying, and I will answer them later if I think I'm gonna lose my train of thought. So now that you know me, now that we've introduced to each other, oh yeah, and something else, just as a curiosity about me, I love tea. So I'll be sipping my tea as we go through this. Pretty much what I wanted to share with y'all, for you to find out what kind of designer you are, what kind of design career you want to have, and how to use design in your favor to leverage the things you want to build for yourself. I just want to start by leveling up our knowledge and having the same perspective about design. So the way I see design, this is very personal. I'm not mentioning any books here. This is just my personal vision of what I've seen throughout the years. I see design as a tree. So if you think about a tree with like roots, I think the roots have 2 main branches. And they are tangible and intangible. And in the tangible side, we have product. Anything tangible that we can see, touch, feel. So we will have UI, graphic design, fashion design, furniture design. Anything that we touch, feel, see comes into the tangible aspect of design. Then we have the intangible one, which I call strategic design. And here we will have service design, business design, design research, anything that people don't see per se. Like when you're talking about a service, people don't know what's happening in the back end of that. So when you're talking about a business, I'm talking about modeling businesses and understanding processes and managing and stuff like that. So all of those things that people don't see, that we are designing, all of those processes, all of those things come into the strategic part of design. And I'm not dividing them because they don't connect. So what I see in between them, like sort of connecting them, bridging them, is UX. And UX is such a broad, loose term that people have been using to talk about design. Here's my take on UX. If you're not designing for your user, who are you designing for? That's my question. So UX, I want you to understand this, is a term that people have been using. The market is like, people don't really understand design, but UX is the thing that the industry, the market around us understood. And they are using it in whatever way they want. That's why you're gonna see some job descriptions for UX research. That's gonna be so similar to like a design researcher. It's because companies will use these terms as they see fit. And here's the thing, more than understanding the terms, I would like for y'all to focus on understanding what you want to do and reading that in the description. Because regardless of the title, the name they gave to the thing you're going to do, make sure you're doing something you actually want to do. The activities on your daily basis, the job description, make sure that that fits what you want to develop in your career, in your skill set, in the experiences you want to have, in the portfolio you want to build. So that's one of the things I want to make sure you understand. The term for searching for jobs, for understanding how to classify yourself, like what am I? Am I a UX designer or a UI designer? Choose the term that best communicates what you identify with. And remember, sometimes you may use a term and people won't understand, but if you change it to something they're using and associating with the same meaning you're trying to convey, use that. Because here's the thing, right? Communication happens when there's someone and a message and someone else receives that message. So just make sure you look around and ask people like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because for non-designers, even among designers, we don't necessarily know what every single design defining word means. So learn the vocabulary, but use it in your favor. Don't feel like you're gonna be stuck in a box. Use it in your favor. Be very strategic about that. So that's one of the things I like to start with, is just sharing my vision of what design is so we can all talk about it from the same page standing point. Then the thing that I would like to add to that, since I'm talking so much about job descriptions and careers and fields and all of that, here's one of the things that I learned working with organizational culture is that that little letter of like intern, junior, senior, manager, or specialist, and CEO, and this and that. I know sometimes it feels like why do we have that? Because there's so much bureaucracy in big companies, for example. For you to become a junior, like you have to have X amount of years or X amount of something, like requirements and all of that. And I want to explain it to you in a way that doesn't talk to that bureaucracy, but just so you understand the differences, to see which way, which path, how you want to pick what you're going to do next as you're starting or in the middle of your design career. So for you to, in the beginning of your career, we have interns, we have juniors, right? They want to be excellent. That's what they want, to be excellent in a certain skill. So if you're a graphic designer, you want to be great at Adobe, at Figma. Like if you're a UI, UX, like you want to become great in doing that fast, doing that with the best quality. That's what people are aiming for when they want to become a senior. When you're in that beginning level and you want to become a senior, you want to be just as fast as the senior. You want to be just as knowledgeable as the senior. You want to be, you want to be like the senior. Because the seniority comes from having more experience, maturity and experience. So when we're talking about these different categories, I want you to understand, regardless of what they're calling you, if you feel like that's what you want, I would put you in those two main categories of intern or junior, because that's usually what you're looking for. The main difference between interns and juniors, in my opinion, is interns don't really understand how the workplace works. They're still learning how to send emails. They're still learning how to be in meetings. They're still learning all of that company lingo and environment procedure kind of thing. Juniors already kind of know how that works. They really are interested in let me just do the things really well, really fast and become the best at it. when you become a senior, when you can do all of that really fast with quality, basically what happens is, okay, so you don't feel super challenged anymore. Like you may feel like, okay, but I got this and that and I know how to do that. So what I see happening is usually people thinking, okay, but I want my work to matter. I want to see the impact. I want to be relevant. And so the ways people go about these are usually trying to specialize, be very like the T-shaped person. They either go very deep or they go very broad. Let me explain why. So what I see, and this is tendencies, okay? I'm not saying this happens to everybody. I'm just seeing from what I've seen throughout this 12 years in different continents, that's what I see. But that doesn't mean this is specific about you. I'm just sharing my perspective. So when you go deep, you become a specialist. So they start, for example, if you're a design researcher, you may want to be an ethnographer, become really good at ethnography, know all of the methods, all of the tools, all of those things. But maybe if you're like a UI designer, you want to become super specialized in a type of app or in a type of interface or in a sort of like, you want to be a UI designer just for Apple-driven apps, for example. Sorry about my vocabulary. That's not where I'm most proficient about. But you understand where I'm going, right? So basically, the way they go when they go broad, instead of going deep, they go broad. That's why they start developing other types of skills. And that's where I usually see people wanting to become a manager. And that usually comes from being very bothered about a manager they had, or thinking that things don't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this hard. Like we could be doing better. And that's when they usually see things from a bigger picture, broader perspective. And if you are this person, if you are looking always at the big picture, thinking why things are this way, how can we improve them, be more efficient in processes and people involved and stakeholders, that's the person I usually say, like, you may want to become a manager, because managers are not the people that are just seniors. Honestly, for them to become managers, they don't even have to be super good in the skill they are managing about. They need to understand how the whole thing works. For example, for you to be a design lead, you don't have to be the best designer in the room, but if you can advocate for your team's needs and understand and support them in their growth, that's where knowing the thing actually helps, because you can help support them, the seniors, the juniors, to grow. That's super helpful. But if you just know how to execute, and you can help them grow, but you can also help them grow in the way they are bringing their ideas up and presenting and dealing with other people. Like there's a lot of different skills that you can help people grow as a manager. But that's the main thing. Like when you're managing a team, when you're managing a project, that's your skill. It's like supporting the people, supporting the resources, supporting the timeline in this project, right? Making sure that everyone is aligned, not just inside your team, but the client. And if you're not a consultant, for example, or have an external client in your company, but your client may be another department, or maybe another director, or your director. So think about people in your company like that too. Like they're also clients. Not necessarily the users of what you're designing, but a client of your work, of what you're doing, of your job. So that's the thing I think managers are really good at. Bridging those needs, bridging the communication, making sure all of those points are aligned, the project needs, the team needs, the stakeholder needs. It's a lot of relational skills, pretty much. And also, of course, the management mindset of like, making sure we have all the resources and the time that the team needs to develop and deliver. So all of those things are pieces of what management does. And you see, that doesn't really speak about design necessarily. Like you don't have to really know the best aesthetics to be good to be a manager. So that's one of the things I want you to understand, because you can do this for design or any other field like marketing or, managing in general is really about knowing how to do all these relational skills and management related things. So those are the two main things I see people doing when they become a senior. Or I see them looking for purpose on working for purpose-driven organizations. They are still seniors, but they continue the senior work on another place where they feel like they're going to grow in another way in their life. So they go to NGOs, or they go to like specific companies that are like B Corps, for example. B Corps are very responsible companies. Is a term very popular in the US. So they're very responsible, very ethical, all of those things. So I see people usually doing that, like one of these three things, like doing the same thing somewhere else where they feel like the purpose is aligned, becoming very specialized, or becoming a manager. So if you become a specialist, you're probably going to just specialize more and more, or in different things, and that's usually what happens. If you become a manager, on the other end, you start having the idea to understand, okay, but I manage the team. What if I manage many teams? What if I manage more things? So sometimes people want to go up that level of responsibility to challenge themselves and to see how that happens, and, you know, just to understand. And usually is the thing that, you know, you grow in your skill set, you grow in challenge, you grow in how you want to understand and support the entire system around you. And when I see that, what I see is people becoming, of course, like not just middle managers, but becoming directors, becoming vice presidents, becoming C-level people. So, and when you do that, you're changing drastically. Like, a manager of a team is a very different role from managing multiple teams. Managing managers is very different from managing a team, because you have to support the managers that are developing their teams and making sure all of this, the things I explained, happened. You need to support them and make sure that everyone is going towards these strategic goals that the company set it up for. So when you're doing that kind of work, you're really looking for the future a little more. And you're going to the future and to the present all the time. So you need to make sure that all of the things that are happening are going towards the same direction. That we are all like, and that's why executive boards usually work together, because we need to help each other to make sure we are all going there at the same pace. It's like a bunch of cars. They need to be working together towards the same goal and be in the finish line at the same time. So you need to be making sure that everything that comes behind you, like imagine a train. A train is better, a bunch of trains together. So you can't go too fast, so that, you know, you have to stop because other people won't be as fast as you. So you need to be looking to the side and the back and the front all the time. You need to look to your peer managers or vice presidents, directors, whatever you want to call them, to make sure we're all working together at the same pace, and take care of your managers so they can develop and do all the things, and make sure we are all working together to the same direction. And if we need a curve, we're all gonna curve together. We're all gonna go together. So it's a lot of cooperation, collaboration, and making sure all of that is happening. Now, when you're a CEO or a founder, your main goal is to make sure that we have everything we need to make that bold 10-year, 20-year crazy idea happen, and make sure that everyone else is aligned so we can build it up through time. So CEOs and founders, and I can speak for myself, that's what we are usually doing. We are having so many ideas about, oh yeah, but we have this idea, we could do that, we could do this, we could do all of these different things. And then we need to come together and be like, okay, what aligns with the strategy? What's our main impact or goal or purpose with this company? Maybe this aligns now, or in 5 years, or in 10 years. And here's how we want to build the story. Where does this fit? How do we make this happen? How do I communicate to my executive board so that everyone else can be aligned and on the same page so we can do this? So you see, like, everyone supposedly, I know that startups have, you know, people do different things in different settings. What I'm saying, like if you have all of the names, all of the options, this is usually the mindset behind all of those things. And the reason why I start by saying what's my perspective on design, what's this little perspective on growth and career and all of that, is basically because I think people usually know this little letter. They don't usually understand why. I mean, they just want to grow in it, but they don't really understand why it's designed and why people perpetuate this model. And this is my understanding. Throughout time, what I found is like being a director is very different from being a project manager. So you have different things in your mind. And when, for example, like now I'm a founder, founding my company is very different too from being a project manager. Because my company, when you're working in a project, it has a beginning, middle, and end. When you're working in a company, you're talking about, you know, ideally you're not gonna flunk the whole thing, so you're gonna look through this in the lenses of long term and new things, and how do we, you know, make sure we still deliver this impact with all the changes around us. So it's a different way of thinking, because you're looking to, you know, different sizes of things, different scopes, and the level of responsibility is totally different too, and all of that. So the reason why I wanted to say all of that to you is because I'm not saying you have to be anything here. I just want you to have the map, the understanding, so you can design the routes and turns and twists that you want in your career. For example, there's nothing stopping you from, for example, me as a director. There was this amazing internship position the other day that had a lot of responsibility in a different field. It was in HR, but I felt compelled. I was like, I'm gonna apply. And I think a lot of people have that mindset of like, oh, but I am a director now, I'm not gonna go back in my career. Not really. Like if you're developing different skills, what is that about? Something else, about college, for example. A lot of people think, oh, I'm gonna do a different college now, and then different college now, and a different college now, until I find a perfect field for me. College is not gonna define your career. College is where, the way I like to tell my mentees to see college is the following. What do you want to do? Like if you imagine yourself talking to people the whole day, right? A lot of people do that. Salesmen do that, psychologists do that, like a lot of people do that. Which curriculum do you think is gonna support you in doing that in the way that you wanna do it? So maybe you wanna talk to people the whole day, but you wanna solve their problems. You want to save their lives. Maybe you wanna be a doctor. Maybe you wanna be a lawyer. Like it really depends on how you see yourself doing that in the way that you want to do that. And then if you read the curriculum with that in mind, you see you're making a much more strategic decision than just saying, oh, now I am a psychologist and now I'm just gonna talk to people the whole day and da 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 da. There's so many things you can do as a psychologist. You can be a researcher, you can, you know, there's so many things. College is not gonna define what you're gonna be. Another important information, I have so many friends. Like I know so many people that went to design school and ended up in another field. I have friends who ended up in customer success. I don't know, like teaching other people languages, like opening language schools. Like for you to go to design school doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna go through with design. But if that curriculum helps you to become a better entrepreneur and, you know, whatever it is that you want to do that. That's what I think is the thing I want y'all to have from what I'm saying. Like, use the curriculum, use the opportunities, use the volunteering, use the internships, use everything you have, the hackathons, any opportunity you have in your favor. Even if it doesn't feel like it aligns right now. Steve Jobs says, right, you need to go through the dots to be able to connect them. So go through the dots. If you see something interesting, experiment, like try it out, see how you feel about it, and make sure after you do it, like in your head, do a little reflection of like, what did I like about this? Because here's the thing, sometimes, for example, you work in a volunteering setting or in a company or with people, and you don't like the people or the environment, but you like the activity. It's just if you were in a different environment, you would have been able to do it in peace, you know, or like the way you would want it. And that's why I love to make sure y'all understand that, like, any career, not just in design, but especially in design, it's about your portfolio. It's about the experiences you have and how you speak about them. One thing about portfolios that I need y'all to know is portfolios work when you have projects you love in them. If you're just doing projects for the sake of having a million projects in your portfolio, that doesn't work. Because when people talk to you in an interview, or you show a prospect client, like let's say you're a freelancer, prospect client, or even your peers, people you want to show your portfolio to, if you have projects that you don't feel proud and confident and love, if you are not passionate about those things, it will come out in the way you speak. You're not going to be passionate about it. People will see it in your face, in the tone of your voice. And that's just going to sound like, meh. Okay, so you're a designer, good. Kind of, yeah, sure, whatever. You know, but that's the thing. One thing that I've learned also is, like, all the major companies that I worked for made up opportunities for me, because strategic design, like, you can imagine, if any of you, I want to know how many of you knew strategic design before I started talking now. Please, let me know in the chat if there's anyone here who knew or heard about a strategic design before this talk. Please, like, pronounce yourself in the chat. So see, I don't see anybody. Because here's the thing, and imagine if that's now, imagine years ago. Years ago, no one knew. Okay, one person, hey, hi, one person. So years ago, people knew even less than now. Like, now we have a lot of very well-known schools, like the Parsons. We have all these schools doing master's degrees in strategic design. We actually have a lot of different jobs. Like, if you go to LinkedIn, I swear to God, there's like 1,000 jobs in the world, and like there's more every day, and a lot. Like, people actually understand what the concept is, and there's jobs and really good job descriptions about it. So that's something I want y'all to understand. Design is creating new fields. As we are talking now, there's so many things coming up, and sometimes it's just a matter of finding out what that is for you. If you want to have a design career, is understanding what people are calling it, and if they're not, create a name for it. For example, when I did my postgrad, there wasn't a name for design and social impact and social enterprises. And just like 2-3 years ago, I found out that there's actually a lot of articles and research and projects, and the way they're calling it is, so it's design for social impact or social design, something like that. So sometimes it's just about finding out how the name is becoming popular and looking for people. If you are in those communities, if you hang with people who are doing those kinds of things, I'm sure you're gonna learn and understand, and especially learn how to navigate the field. So one place that has a lot of things for free that you can do that is a great resource is ADP List. ADP List is this global community of designers, majorly designers, because ADP is Amazing Design People List. And that's what it stands for. And I'm sharing this because it's a very specific resource. It started in the pandemic and it became huge, like it's everywhere now, and it's growing even more, like exponentially. And I'm a mentor there too, so if you want to talk to me, go there. I have scheduled slots for things, and I'm always doing things there. But basically, what I want y'all to understand is, like, find the people. ADP List is one example, but one thing you can do before ADP List, that's what I would do. I would go to Eventbrite or Meetup, and I would look for meetups. I would look for events. I would look for things with keywords like service design or, you know, all of those things. So I could learn about those fields and learn if people like maybe like me didn't know about it, or some people knew about it and could share with us. And then you can actually start conversations and see what's happening. So I'm not gonna get into many more resources specifically because I want to hear y'all. But I just wanted to make sure y'all had that perspective of like, if it doesn't exist, create it. Be the first one. I know that there's a lot of people in Brazil that they don't even know what design is, honestly, because design is an English word. We speak Portuguese in Brazil, so there's that. I know that many of you may identify with that. And people don't understand the concept of design. And imagine adding the complexity of like what kind of design, which is very abstract and not even designers understand. So like there's a lot of confusion. But I make sure I talk to people in Portuguese about it so people understand. And that's one thing I learned in the first consulting agency I went to. So much of our work is about educating people. So much of our work is about teaching in a way of sharing things that we are going through so people can understand what we do. Because my parents, for example, they have been supporting me and letting me go to these events and like loving everything I say when I come back. But they're nurses. They don't understand anything about design. But because I share my stories with them, if you ask them, they will actually know how to explain what design is to you. So there's so much about sharing what we do in a simple, not complicated vocabulary kind of way that brings everyone together. And one of the things that I've found that I think is very inspiring is one of the reasons why throughout my career, I stopped calling myself a designer and now I'm back to it. Like we divorced and now we're back married. Like that's how I feel about design. I was married, divorced, and got back married. Because here's the thing. When I was a consultant, I thought people are not gonna take me seriously if I say I'm a designer. But what I found is that's exactly why. That's kind of the filter of people that I wanna work with as a consultant. The people who think consulting and design together interesting. So don't be afraid to do the thing that feels legit to you. Don't be afraid to share your experiences and bring them up in a way that empowers people with your knowledge, with your experiences. That's what I mean with teaching and sharing. Let people learn from your experiences. Be able to share that with them. I'm sure if we had more designers sharing our experiences, like it's representation, right? If we had people like us talking about what they do, it would be a lot easier for like young designers, potential designers to see themselves in what we say, in what we live, in the creating realities, environment and mindset that we are in every day. Because that's the thing, people know a lot about medicine and law and, but why? Because people have been talking about this for centuries, many centuries. And who do you know that shares their design life and mindset and experiences with you? Like we have a few designers that are that prolific and have that level of reach out. But that's the thing, the more of us there is, the more we support each other. And one of the things I always say is like designers are a very specific type of group. And that's why I always make sure we know this. We support each other. Like if you're a designer and you don't support your fellow designers, I don't know what you're doing. Because if we don't support each other, who do you think is gonna support us? Like, the people who don't understand what you do. So that's why sharing is so important to me. I feel like if you have had difficulty expressing what you do, maybe if you have had mentors or, I don't know, Chris Do, for example, is a person that I know is very well known and does a lot of, podcasts and YouTube and stuff and Instagram. So Chris Do has so much of a reach out and he, people know him for the designer that he is and for the entrepreneur that he is. So I feel like we should have more of those because the more in different languages, even like the more of us we have, the more we can support each other and even help the market to understand what we do. So we don't have so many job descriptions that do the same thing with different names. Like it's a piece of the process. And I think just as much as we apply all of our skills towards the user, it's important that we see all the other stakeholders, our bosses, our teammates, our clients, or families, the communities around us, as clients too, as users of our job, of our role, of our knowledge as designers. And we can share that with them just with as much care and kindness as we do with our users. Because I know if you're a designer, you care about the user. That's why you're a designer. Like all of us, we're all like this. We care a lot. And if you are this person, all I want for you to know is like, just don't be afraid to share your experience, share your knowledge, and treat everyone the same way. Use those design skills you have. Like if you want to become a manager, if you want to become a senior, use the same design skills you use for your user to your manager, to your teammate, to the other department. You know, the company is also a user of your job, of your role as a designer. Or maybe if you're a freelancer, your client and your user. Like the client is not usually the user sometimes. So all of those skills that you have, just redirect them towards the people around you in different areas. I think that's one of the things we don't think about. It's just we have the skill set. Sometimes we just guard it, like we just guard it and save it for the user. But if you're able to design solutions for a specific type of user or niche or people, why are you not using that same skill set to design your career, to design your surroundings, the realities around you, the communities, the whatever you want to, the company you're in, or the company you want to found, or the project you want to do as a side project or, you know, a personal project. All of those things, use that skill set in your favor and leverage it and make the history you want to build for yourself. So that's what I had for this first part. Rakisha, can you help me with the questions? I don't know if I look at the Q&A or the chat.
No, definitely, I'm gonna help you with that.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that was a lot of energy in one. People were specifically appreciating the energy you had, and it made them more. You know, they're continuously interacting with the chat, and they have questions. So many questions. Okay,
Cool.
to start with, it's an anonymous question which says that he is currently an experienced designer who works more on the visual side, but he feels like I understand my users and their psychology better than creating the end product. Should I transition to behavioral science or use user psychology?
What do you like? I mean, what do you want to do ultimately? Because here's the thing. You don't need to choose. Bottom line, you don't need to choose. You can do both. Like if you like visual, but you like a little visual and more psychology, behavioral, totally understand, because I love it too. I love psychology and behavioral aspects of things in life. One of the things I talk a lot about in my mentoring sessions is how the brain works and all the neurological things, behaviors happen because of our brains and stuff. So I love that too. One of the things that I think is important for you to kind of consider and honestly kind of answer for yourself is, what do you want to spend your time doing the most? Because you can do visuals, you can do behavioral, you can do research, you can do all of those different things. But sometimes you want to dedicate more time, invest more time in one aspect of that thing. And if that's the case, and something else, just because, for example, you have a job that do a lot of psychology work, that doesn't mean you have to stop doing the visual on the side. Sometimes the same job will have all the things, but sometimes you have to divide and decide how to make that work for yourself and design a way for you to make all of that work for yourself. Because here's the thing, and if that doesn't happen in a company, create it. Create your company, create the job you want to be. Because here's the thing, if you're designing things for other people, one of the things as an organizational culture consultant I do a lot is designing the processes and the jobs and the salaries and the promoting and the career planning and all of that. There is someone designing that for you. That's the thing, when you work in a company, someone is designing that for you. So sometimes if you don't fit in or you feel like that's kind of off and it's not aligned with what you want, design that. You design that for yourself. and make sure that like whatever you decide is just balanced out. Don't feel like because you did it now, like format it this, I don't know, for example, 10% for visual, 80% for psychology, and another 10% for, I don't know, something else you like. Just because you've configured it now this way, don't feel like you have to keep it this way forever. You can change it up. You can, one thing I can suggest to you is a book about people who design their own jobs. Let me just find the name. It's a really funny name. It's like the worst book in the world or something like that. I will find a name and put it in the chat. But I feel like if you're designing things for other people and considering their behavior, design the way you want to behave, the way you want to insert visual and behavior together in your daily life and keep your job, or like how you would like to mix it together in a different setting or in a side project, or whatever you want to do. I'm not saying quit your job. I'm just saying maybe you start as a side project and grow, and then someday, like eventually it grows enough for you to just do that for the rest of your life. I know that that's what I did with mentoring. So, there's options. Design your path towards that and make sure you don't have to compromise on anything. Make sure you have all the things. Just choose the important things. Don't choose something just because you feel like you have to, or because your father said so, or your boss said so, someone said so. Just make sure you're doing it for you. That's all I'm saying. Let me just find that book and give it in the chat. But yeah, that's my best advice, honestly, is just do it for you. That's the best thing I can recommend.
Also, while pasting, I think you missed choosing everyone when pasting in the chat. It was just going to post in the panelist.
Okay.
I kept helping them. That's not an issue. So you can just change it.
Thank you for pointing that out. I totally missed that. Yeah, all the time I was posting, it was going just to you guys. Okay, that makes sense now. I was like, why is the confusion happening? Okay, let's see. Oh Jesus, what's happening? Okay. What's the name of that book? Okay. Do you want to give me another question as I sort it out? Mm-hmm.
So it's a simple one. What tool you use most to design?
What tool?
Yeah, tool you use most to design.
Wow. Interesting. What tool? Pen and paper. Pencil, actually. That's the one. That's legit the one I use every single time. I've used so many. Like I love Miro. I've used Miro since 2015, so before it became popular. I love it. I think it's a great tool. I think Miro gives you, and because it's so similar to Adobe, I feel like there is that, which helps my brain to work better. But that's the thing. I feel like there's not one tool, but one site I really, really love that has a lot of tools. It's, let me just find the right link because there's many, but it's called Service Design Tools. I use many of those, and I actually have a book, if you want to do tools, there is a book called Service Design Toolkit. Yeah, I'll grab it in a sec. But that's one I used a lot during college and stuff, for projects and things. Service Design Toolkit?
Even we also use Miro, organization-wise. Everyone uses, even the development team uses Miro. Because when they the architecture, they just want to clear the thoughts. Okay, this is how things flow with the system. So I think it's a really and there's one more. I think Mural is, but that's a played one.
Mural.
Similar to
Miro and Mural. But that's the thing. It's because I'm from the time before Figma. Figma wasn't a thing. when I was young, like I didn't like, I know that if I had Figma, maybe I knew Figma, but I was out of college and out of graphics and out of interface by the time Figma came about. So I learned about it through my mentees, and I think it's amazing. I love what they do with it. But I don't even know the website to get into. Like, I would have to Google Figma and see where to go to, because I have no idea how to work that. I don't even know what it does, honestly. But I've seen people use it, and I think it's a great tool too. So yes, I'm still looking for that book. Damn it. I will keep looking and talking, but yes, I feel like the toolkits are interesting. Let me find that book for you. Give me a sec. So it's called, this is Service Design Thinking. This is the book. This is an amazing book if you want to do tools, because here's the thing. This book is designed, I love the design, organizational piece of this book. Here's what happens. So you will have three main colors. Here. So can you see, like, there are three main colors, and then they will navigate you through the colors, and each color has a specific meaning. So one of them is for study cases, one of them is for the introduction to service design, and one of them is just for the tools. So you will see different kind of even layouts. As you can see, like, the introduction has a lot of explaining and things like that. And so here's about, like, what is service design. So they explain it to you. There's a lot of text, a lot of different things. And then it goes into the tools here. Okay, where is it? Okay, so tools, it's green. So everything is gonna be in green, and they're gonna show you, like, the tools and how to use them, and different case, like, little frameworks and examples, and tell you a little bit about it. And then when it becomes yellow, here, when it becomes yellow, they have study cases using the tools. So this book is super great. I love this book. Like, it's a Bible, I know, it's like super big. Like, you can actually, you know, it's a brick, but it's super great. Like, if you're looking for tools, this is one of the best ones. And there it goes. But yeah, super good. Super recommend that one. Especially because regardless of what kind of designer you are, service design is where I feel everything kind of comes together. Because in a blueprint, for example, which is an amazing tool that I really love, you can find it in the link I sent in the chat. A blueprint, for example, you're gonna map out, let me open it so I can actually show you. You can use a simple blueprint to do so many things. Like, you will basically understand the whole picture of stakeholders and what they need to do, and how the service that you're building serves them, and all the touch points. And sometimes those touch points are a person speaking to you. For example, airplanes, right? You have to check in, there's a person there, but sometimes you just do it in an app. So different interfaces for you to interact with the service. And I think Blueprint is one of the tools that I actually use a lot. Like, one specific tool, if you are asking me, I do that all the time because it helps me. So if I'm mentoring someone and they are struggling with something and they want my advice, or they want to see the whole picture, it helps you see the whole picture. So sometimes what I do in my head automatically, because it's just how I think, this tool specifically helps other people to see what I see. So that's why I love this tool. I really love this tool. Let me just share my screen real quick so you can actually visualize it. But yes, I feel like tools, but that's one thing I think it's interesting to share too. I create most of my tools. So where is it? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one. Okay, so Okay, here we go.
You can just see the website, but as an, I don't know if it's low. Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. So basically what you're gonna see here is a bunch of different tools, and I love them. For more than just, service safaris are for research, so system maps are for designing systems. So you have different things here. But the blueprint, which is the one I really love, I think that's the thing I want to show y'all. It actually, blueprint, here we go. It has different layers. And I think even for you to present an idea to someone, sometimes it's hard because here's a little picture of what it looks like. So here you're gonna have the overall journey, the customer journey, and then you're gonna have one stakeholder, multiple stakeholders. This is one version of it. If you search on Google, you're gonna find different versions of this. But here is what the company does. The user is here on the top, and here's all the interactions. So you can actually map it out, like phase one, what's in the company, in the interaction, in the user. So you can actually see all of the steps of that interaction phase journey mapped kind of version of things. And sometimes I feel like there's the journey of the user map, and there is the thing, like there is the processes of the company, and this, everything is separated. But when you have a framework like this, everything kind of comes together, and all the templates are for free, downloadable. They also have references, they have examples. So yeah, so as you can see here, like you can do many different layers. You can do like different like organization of information, color coding. It can become very complicated. But you can see the main idea here, right? It's a very simple tool, but it helps so much, so very much. And it's one tool that you can use on collaborative environments. You can bring the tool and design it with the people. So you ask people how they see it, different users, different people in the company. Just bring everyone together and let sort of Lego kind of put it all together. Like, let's all sit in the table and put all the pieces together. So you have a perspective from the user, you have a perspective from the company, like, and then your work is just to facilitate a conversation. So I've used this tool many times. It's very, very helpful. So that's that. What's our next question?
So it's by Kranti. He wants to know that his understanding about design management might not be getting hands-on on any design project. Say product manager is in tech field and can't get hands-on like UX designer. So how should he handle this? Did you understand the question?
Not really. So the tech person doesn't understand what he does, but the management, so what is, sorry, I got lost in the management part.
He's trying to say that his understanding of design management is not getting hands-on on any of the design project because the product manager is in tech field and he can't get hands-on like a UX designer. Like, is it so? Like, does that happen?
It does. A lot. I mean, nobody understands us. So it happens all the time, like every day in many companies in the world. Like, that's one struggle I hear about every day. And that's the thing. I feel like, so how do you handle that? I think that's the question. What do you do? How do you handle that? Here's the thing. If you want for this person, go back to the sharing and teaching part that I just said, right? So if this person doesn't understand design, you have to share with them. Sorry, I know it's not your job. I know you're not being paid for this. I know sometimes this is not even something you want to do, but like, it's not about teaching them about design as a teacher. It's about sharing your experience. Like, if the way this is being managed or led is not supporting your design work, any manager is supposed to help their teams regardless of their background. Like, I have managed teams of different fields. None of them were designers. None of them knew design at all. But I knew that my main role as a manager is to support your growth and make sure you deliver so you have the resources you need so you can deliver. And that's the thing, like, any manager should identify with that in some level. Like, you know, if that manager is not doing that, then it's just an asshole who was promoted because he knows someone who's influential. I'm just being very honest here. And that happens a lot. That happens. It may be your case. I don't know if that's your case. I hope not. I pray to God it isn't, because it is, and I don't like it when it is. But you will be surprised at how many people get high responsibility jobs and are not even skilled in any way at all to deal with the level of complexity you have to deal in that kind of job. So here's the thing. if this person is open with you, if this person is interested in supporting you, help them understand how they can do that. Help them understand where you're coming from and your process and your reality. And again, help them understand how they can help you. Because they won't be able to assume. Don't think that because this person is a manager, they can read your mind. That's not how things happen here. A manager is not all of a sudden became a manager, telepathic. That's not how it works. Like you're promoted all of a sudden, you read people's minds. No. That's why the relational skills are so important. Because you have to talk to people and learn to listen to them. And sometimes, for example, my team, they've been telling me like, it would be so great if we had this X software something. And I'm like, we don't have the budget. Like, we don't have the budget. I'm sorry, we don't have the budget. I'm just being honest. It's either that or your salary or something else. Like, we will have to choose something here because like, and that's the thing, like, as a manager, I'm very honest. I share those things. I know that a lot of companies in different settings, of course, like you're not able to share that kind of content information because it's sensitive, it's confidential. But that's one of the things you can ask. Like, if there's something you need, some kind of support, some kind of software, or I don't know what, but like more time, ask for it. Help people understand why you need it. That's super important. Like, just don't come to the manager and say like, oh, I need this. Give it to me. Don't be like a spoiled child. Like, don't do that. Don't go there. That's not professional. But if you can articulate your thoughts and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I have a specific need for something. It can be a resource or your time or your support in some sort of way, or can I talk to a different department? Like, can you help me talk to the user or have more time? Like, whatever it is that you need, communicate it in a way that helps the person understand your reality. They're not doing your job every day. They understand what you're doing on a broad sense, a surface. But you're the only person who can say, hey, here's my process. It's what I do. And that's why I need this. So is there any way we can do this? Is there any way we can negotiate? Or like, I don't know, what can we do? Can you help me find a thing that suffices this need? Can we do this together? And bring them on. Bring them on into the problem. Ask for help. That's what your manager is supposed to do in the first place. Now, if you're handling a different person, the asshole who is not willing to support you kind of person, here's a few things you can do. So I'm gonna be very, very blunt. Sorry if I'm too blunt, people, but that's just who I am. Apologize in advance. But that's the thing. Like, if this person doesn't care, that's your answer. That's your answer. They don't care. Like, they don't care. And the way you can handle that, there are different ways. So maybe maybe it's one person, but the company is great, so you can ask to go to a different department and work with other people. Maybe you don't want to work for this company anymore because it's the same way everywhere and you don't comply, like you don't feel like you belong there, you don't want to do that. So start looking for other jobs and, figure out a way for you to find what you need. You don't have to torture yourself. But yeah, there are different ways you can go about it. If you want to be blunt about this problem, you can go to HR, you can complain to HR and make a formal complaint and like go that route. Only thing and if it's bad, go that route, like definitely do that. The only thing I would say is pay attention to the timing if you're doing that. Like, you want to make sure you're not, like, if you have another job and you're going to quit and like you're out, be strategic about when you do that, because if HR comes to this person and they don't like you in any way, they can make your life a living hell. So just be strategic about when you do that if you're going that route. Like, if there's any chance this person can see whatever you're doing as picking up a fight, be strategic. You don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. Too much effort. Don't go there. It's a lot of energy you're going to waste. So if you're saying things, or like, depending on the environment you are, right? Sometimes HR is not going to do anything. Sometimes HR has tried to do something, and because you're coming with it, they're going to have more arguments to actually do something about it. It really varies from company to company. All I'm saying is always think about you first, because if they fire you, they will replace you really fast. So just take care of yourself first. Whatever you do, just make sure you cover all your bases and take care of yourself first. So I think I covered all possibilities. Next question.
But I can definitely relate to the part where the team comes and asks, okay, can we purchase that software? Like, it's $200. We're like, okay, at least try the free version of it first, and then we'll think about purchasing it. Right?
Yeah.
And if it fits into the ecosystem that we are, if it is, then sure, why not? But
Yeah.
I can relate to the part you said about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving ahead, it's please explain a scenario in which a person applies strategic design to solve a problem.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you an example of a project I did. I did this project. I can't say the names of my clients, but I can talk about the project. So also, if you're a consultant and you're dealing with NDAs, this is what you can do. You can either say you worked for X company and name it, or talk about the project. Neither the two together, you can do that. But that's how you can talk about your portfolio and projects. Don't say who you worked for. Talk about the project. Say like it was a government. I'm not saying which country. It's government somewhere, the world. Or say like this say the name of the company, but don't talk about a project. So there was this government in the world, and they were trying to understand how to build policy to insert people who were, what's the name of that again? People who migrate because their life is in danger in their home countries. Refugees. Yes, refugees. So they wanted to understand how to insert refugees and other migrating people from other countries in their work environments and place and like market in general. Because here's the problem, right? When, for example, if you're a doctor and you have a degree in a country, if you go another country, most of the times they won't accept a degree because medicine is the field that's very specific to the kind of diseases that country has and very, very specific. So if you're a designer, it's probably not going to be an issue. But if you're a lawyer, different countries have different laws and different states have different laws. So that it's really hard to insert those people back in their original field. And they didn't want to waste the talent because they wanted to empower people to actually have quality lives in the country they were coming to. So one of the things that we did was we built up an entire 5-day different questions collaborating environment online with people from all over the world. And we talked about future trends on work. So the future of work and all. I used to work a lot with foresighting and forecasting and future trends and stuff like that, future scenarios. So that's what we did. We brought them together, a lot of young people from different countries, so we could have like global trends. Something else we did in the same project was get a lot of the best people in HR around the world in a room to talk about different things they were seeing, not just with migration, but with remote work. And this was back like in, I don't know, 2015, 16, like before the pandemic was a thing, like very, very much before that. So we were all talking about things that now are very much of our daily lives, and pandemic just brought it up a lot more, but it was a common thing. Like the issues they had was just, okay, we have a lot of people who have been working with this for a while, recruiting and doing all of that, dealing with all of the migrating things. They were the issues. So we brought their perspective from different countries. We brought youth that are probably going to be in the workplace soon. So what are the things they are expecting and understanding their perspective? And then what we did was just help them understand how to put that together in a way that would help in their own setting, in their own policy-making processes internally in that department of the government that we had as client. So I hope is that an example?
Right. It definitely is.
So
okay.
I think that's one. So I can give more if you want. Just ask me for more. I have a lot. So yeah. So that's an example. And the strategic design comes, okay, so that's one thing I should mention. What is a strategic design in all of these things? So I, as the manager of this project, I designed how the stakeholders were going to be how we were going to do the collaborative part, what kind of questions, how we would insert all of these pieces together and where in the developing part of the project. I was selecting the consultants that were participating as the young people. I was selecting the people in HR that were coming in their backgrounds. So I was designing the whole process of how this was happening strategically so that we would use these resources and knowledge towards the main goal, which was the question they want us to answer was how do we insert youth, migrating, refugees, in our local market and industries. So we brought all of those perspectives together in a very specific way that I designed strategically so that we would, in the end, have a report with all of the insights, all of the compiled data in a way that made sense for them to use in building a policy. So that's the strategy part of what I did. And of course, there was the whole designing the interface and designing the questions and designing the report and all of that, the graphics and visuals around it. But most of my work is not that. That's just the end part of how people are going to interact with all of the things that I spend a lot of time thinking about. So that's the strategic design part of it. Next question.
Moving on to the next one. So this is by Dilip. He wants to understand that he's allergic to coding. He's neither good nor bad in graphic design, but when it comes to user interface, it be software, hardware, I can come up with solution for any requirement, problems thrown at me. I can uncomplicate almost all complications and can produce good visual designs of the solutions. So who am I as a designer?
I feel like you're a UX strategist. Just from what you're saying there, it feels like you're a UX strategist because that's what people are calling it. But it just sounds like you're a really good visual designer. I don't want to say graphic because you've said not good, not bad. But it seems like maybe even systems, but I don't know. I would need to understand what you mean when you say solutions, what kind of solutions you work with, but that's the thing. I don't know coding. I don't know graphic. I don't know how to do Photoshop to this very day. I don't. If you open Photoshop, I'm allergic to Photoshop. You're allergic to code. I'm allergic to Photoshop. I have no idea how to do that. And if you open it in front of me, I actually am gonna hyperventilate. I have no idea how to do that. But yeah, I feel like if you're doing software, if you're thinking about those things and you're thinking about how maybe information architecture also sounds like somewhere you could be good at. Because if you're thinking about how things come together, information architecture is a place where people do that a lot. It's a piece of systems thinking and systems design. I really love it. It's really strategic as a field. Systems design is in the strategic design field for me, in the branch of design and the tree. But yeah, information architecture is one way of doing system design. It's one of the main mini branches. So if strategic design is the main core branch, then we have all of the other ones. We have systems, and then in systems we have information architecture, for example, many other things. But that's one of the things I think maybe. But if anything, if you want to go broader than that, it feels like a UX strategist, because UX strategists usually are thinking about how we make the product happen and test with the user and research and all of those pieces, how they come together in the end product. And sometimes people just want to do research, sometimes they just want to do interface. So I feel I don't know, I would go with either UX strategist or information architecture, something in systems design. So.
He said himself UX strategist. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, yay. Cool. Perfect.
Okay, so the next one is how can this is from Emmeline. So she's saying how can she surpass the imposter syndrome? She changed her career not so long time ago, but she thinks she is now old for the market. Although she has skills in graphic design and she wants to freelance, but is it too late? It's never too late.
No, It's never too late. So here's the thing. Freelancing is a whole thing, right? Freelancing is an entire journey, because you don't have to really, you can choose a specialty. Of course you can. You don't have to. I think that's the main thing I want to tell you. Like, for example, if you want to talk about my transitions, I could have said that I was a designer and then a consultant, and now I'm an entrepreneur. But I don't see those as transitions, because you never start from scratch. You start from experience. So everything I've learned as a designer and a consultant and a project manager support me now in being an entrepreneur. So if you want to sort of like transition and throw that away and like la la la, but I wouldn't recommend that. Like, you learned so much from your previous experience. Why would you, how does that help you? Like, I don't think that's helpful at all. Like, just, of course, you're not gonna do the same things, but of course you matured and you learned and you gained skills and developed. So use that in your advantage and leverage it. So maybe it doesn't fully align with the job description and daily and deliverables, maybe the main difference is deliverables. But you learned how you like to work, what you like, what you don't like, what kind of things you want to do, don't want to do. Use that in your advantage and build. If you want to do the transition thing, all I can tell you is like, just make sure you're doing it in a way that you want to remember. Don't do it just because you want to fit in a new context and use all of the buzzwords and be identified as something. Like, do it in your own way. Like, if you're doing this, do it because you actually want to do it and create the new thing. Like, give yourself the permission to design the new thing. And if you're going to be a freelancer, do it in a way that supports you and helps you and makes you feel confident and solid about what you're building. Don't just try to get a model from someone else and do it for yourself. You have creative freedom to create this new thing you're building. So use that in your advantage. And of course, it's never too late. I have mentees that are 64 years old and they are now starting different careers. Like during the pandemic, we've seen people do this all the time around the world, like elders, and not even elders, but like everybody. Like, I've seen a lot of people say like, I don't want to do this job anymore because I can work from home and be with my kids and be with my parents and be with my family. Like, why would I compromise on that? And I don't know, get your priorities straight and design around them. Make sure this job, the freelancing, in whatever shape or form, like, I don't know who you want to work with or where, like in person or online, but just make sure you design it in a way that attends to your needs first. Because here's the thing, this is one thing I learned as a mentor. You know what you need to actually be a mentor? To be a mentor and have someone wanting to be mentored. That's all you need. So for you to be a freelance, you need to freelance and have someone wanting the thing you're freelancing for. That's all you need. But here's the trick. It's not about doing that in a way that is best for your, who is the most important person in the freelancing or the mentoring? The client or you? It's you. Because the client can go somewhere else. But if you are not well, if you are not good, like if your well-being is in jeopardy in any way, like if you're not healthy, if you're not happy, you're gonna underdeliver. That's the thing. And I don't think anyone as a professional wanna underdeliver. Like, I don't think that's a goal. I'm gonna underdeliver. Like, that's what I wanna do with my life. I don't think anyone wants that. So that's the thing. Put yourself first. Design your routine, design your proposals, design the way you want to sell in a way that fits your needs, your ethics, the way you want to do this. Don't just copy things because you feel like it works for other people. Use the references, of course, but do it in your own way. Like, give your little twist and turn, put your little spice in it, make it your own. If you're doing this, you might as well do it all the way through. Like, don't just halfway do it. So that's what I think. And anything you want to do, like change it halfway through, change it. I was designing the programs that we're gonna do this year, I did like, I think I did this like 20 times. I did 20 different designs to deliver the programs we're gonna deliver this year in my company. And if I need to redesign it again, I will. Because that's the thing. If it's not something I wanna remember, I'm not gonna do it. So that's my suggestion, that you take all of the creative freedom you have and make it your own. Next question.
Okay, so we are already running a little late, so we'll take
We are?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll take one last question. So it's more on, can we have some more roles that fall into the intangible side of the design tree, as in job descriptions of roles in business design, strategic design, service design, and any other fields?
Okay. Give me a second. Let me do something. Let me actually show you what's on right now. So, okay, let me share my screen. How many more questions can we take? Like, we're over time, but
most of them are already answered.
okay, cool.
So I think they were mostly covered in the
Other questions.
Right.
Okay, cool. So here's what I'm gonna do. Can you see my LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so here's what I want to show you. What were business strategist, business designer? What was the thing that you asked for?
Mostly on the intangible side of the design.
So
that's what
let's go with design strategist just to begin with. So you can do design strategist or strategic designer. Both are good keywords for you to look for jobs. So if you look at, let's say JP Morgan is going to be a good one. They have really good. So you see vice president of strategic design in JP Morgan in the US. So you see, that's a kind of role. I think it's interesting to see because you don't have a lot of vice presidents. You have design vice presidents, but not strategic designers. So there you go. Responsibilities. The successful candidate would join us in a unique specialized team, provides product strategy based on client engagement and work sessions. This is a content role working hands-on to conceptualize, develop, and pilot cutting-edge data products. It relies on being able to engage clients and SMAs to understand their process, goals, and challenges so that we can create new data products to support and enhance their own understanding and visibility of their cash flows with data and machine learning. So of course, we need to understand this is a bank. So who is the user here? Someone like a company or like, people who need to understand their cash flows. So then you will have the things you will do. So bring together design analytics, support a multidisciplinary team through discovery, research, synthesis, ideation, yada, 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 the design process. Support our product managers. So you see, it's gonna have managers underneath them. Set up, manage, facilitate, synthesize. So you see, these are the verbs of what intangible roles in design will have. Set up, organize, manage, facilitate, synthesize, and document. Some of the other things they will ask you is to write reports and be good in facilitating deliveries and relational skills. So create visual assets, partner closely with product managers, data scientists, UX, UI designers, translate the learnings into implications for products, which is insight. It's insight into applications. So learn how to translate insight from research into planning and projecting and stuff like that. So of course, qualifications, yada, yada, yada. So if you look into others, of course, this is a vice president role. If you look into like an analyst, senior, right? So job purpose. Do you love wicked riddles? Are you a natural evangelist for people? Evangelist, you see, I was saying sharing, they're using the word evangelist for people and design. Can you adaptly shift your focus from patients to community members? So you see the relational skills again, the big and the micro and macro, going holistic and going specific. Members to employees to C-level executives. So you see learning different languages, knowing how to talk to different people. Do you have a pulse on possible futures and internal compass to anticipate unintended consequences? So he's dealing with complex situations and unforeseen futures. Do you have an insatiable desire to create human-centered solutions to some of the healthcare's most intractable challenges? So see, this is focused on healthcare. If you are shamelessly shouting out yes to all those questions, yada, 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 yada. So these, you see, is a different way of saying the same things I was just saying. So let's look for system design. Another example that I mentioned here, right? So in system design, you can look for system designer or designer for systems. Like you can try different phrasings, different wordings. But system design, project manager level 3. So this is a big company for sure because they have like 3 levels of you can be project manager 1, 2, or 3. Like this is a big company for sure. Like just from reading the name of it. So the main purpose of this role is to write the requirements of an assigned IRT studies and manage the implementation in a way that ensures patients to get treated with the right study drug as per sponsor. So this is another one in the healthcare field. Drug as per sponsor study protocol. This is a highly consultative position, which PM, so it's gonna work as a consultant, but it's gonna be a project manager. See what I said before? Like, that's what I'm saying. You are a project manager, work as a consultant. Needs to utilize her Synduit IRT knowledge to ensure successful system build. I don't know what IRT thing is, I don't know what it is, but you see it's a very specific type of way of understanding systems and building systems. So, this is a good example, but let's see business design. So for business design is usually going to be around designing business models, understanding processes across departments in a specific department. So all of those are good for that. So you have a business design lead here, is different from an analyst. So you have a senior associate, which is going to be more works, and this is going to be more of a management. So let's see what they have here. Job description. Team. This role will join a closely strategy team and will have, so you see, even if you're working with business design, you're going to be in a strategy team with other people that are working in strategy. And we'll have the opportunity to contribute and lead efforts in 3 key areas: strategic initiatives, offering innovation and growth, and strategic activation. All around strategy. We certainly don't expect you to contribute to all areas, but ideally you can bring both breadth and depth to the team. So you see, you have to be T-shaped, like in both ways. You have to be very deep and very broad all at the same time. In this role, we can expect to collaborate with key individuals, teams throughout the firm. So inside, including but not limited to these departments, and they name the departments. So you see, pretty much I said this in different ways, but let's see what the senior, more hands-on, not so much leadership role says. About the role, business designers are at Profit, which is the name of the company, are passionate, curious, and committed, and by taking holistic view of all stakeholders and getting deeply immersed in their goals and motivations. Business designers combine behavioral and business models to enable sustainable value creation. So throughout time, let's create value throughout time. On any given project, you will be working with brand strategists, service designer, product designers, product manager, research scientists, and software engineers. Senior associate business designer typically manage the day-to-day activities of associate consultants and are based on exceptional performance. Will be offered opportunities to lead client engagements. So you see, again, connecting different people, different places, different things. So service designers, on the other end, will design services. So you will have a company who will come to you and ask for you to design a new product, a new service, a new interaction. So for example, let's say Uber. If Uber wants to develop a new service that's going to happen outside of the app or just different ways, so you need different things, that's the job of a service designer. So you see Fjord is an amazing company, an amazing consulting agency if you are into that. Not surprised that they are asking for service designers. So Service design lead owns service design as a discipline, projects, accounts, and contributes to the practice at the studio level, sharing responsibility for the service design team across the studio on all accounts. On projects, you will support and provide oversight, all aspects of service design, so designing, implementing, managing the client, all of that, as well as leading the service design activities of our most ambitious projects. This is an opportunity to be part of a team, So here's some of the other stuff. So visual and verbal storyteller, comfortable with ambiguity, ready to collaborate, naturally engaging with people, passionate. So I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but you see, it's just different purpose for the same skills. I think that helps, right? I'm not gonna do this for a lot longer because I feel like people may be getting bored, but it's again, different ways of saying the same thing I just said, so.
I think people they literally loved you, the audience loved you. They're saying, thank you, Rashika, for conducting this. And thank you also to Hellem for this great workshop. I think I loved you, Hellem. I literally loved the session and the energy. It was anything. So, yeah. So I think this is the end of the session. We are definitely gonna have one more session with you. We'll take it offline and we'll get the team to discuss with you. And
Yeah.
they're already asking me one more session like this. That's great.
Yay! Okay, let's get another one. Let's do this again. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you so much. I really love supporting designers, and I'm a mentor, so I'm totally biased. I care about people. So thank you all so much for coming. I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions, if you want to reach out to me, please add me on LinkedIn, talk to me. I'm super accessible. I'm not that kind of person like, don't touch me, don't talk to me. Like, talk to me, reach out, ask your questions, however I can support you, please let me know. I do a lot of free things, so we can talk more on those, like speaking things and stuff like that. I try to do them on different time zones so we can be inclusive. I've been working with people around the world for a while, and I try to be flexible in that way. So wherever you are, I don't care how much you know or don't know. Everyone is in a different journey. We're all human beings. And I love sharing my experiences and hearing about people's experiences. And if I can be of help in any way, like, just let me know. Seriously, just let me know, reach out to me. And yeah, I loved meeting you all. I hope we can continue these conversations whenever
Yes,
you all
definitely.
want. But yeah, thank you so much for having me, Rashika and Afif, who invited me, and all the ProApp team. I loved being here. I loved working with y'all. And of course, I am already saying yes to the next one. So whenever you want it, let's just get it together.
I believe if design is nothing if not its community. So design is everything because of the community it is, and that's the reason it's so inclusive. There's anyone everywhere ready to help. So no such field or profession has this inclusivity. So I think that's the power design has, the community it has. So with that note, thank you, Ellen. Thank you, everyone who joined this particular workshop. Let's meet you next week again. And this one is by one of the co-founders of ProApp. Sandesh, the next workshop, and come on, he's gonna teach you the art of client servicing. He has been doing it for 6-7 years now. So I've shared the link, enroll here, and have a very good rest of the day, evening, afternoon, morning, whatever it is. Thank you so much, Ellen. We'll meet again.
Thank you. Have an amazing weekend. See you soon, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.